it's fascinating because when you joined WWE in February '99 and you debuted at St. Valentine's Day Massacre and you came through the ring, you threw Austin at the cage. And I remember kind of everybody talking about this is going to be the big pay-per-view match, Austin and the Giant, and that's where it's going to go. And it ended up that you guys fought 3 weeks later on Raw. He beat you on Raw, and then you turned babyface like 3 weeks later. So it felt like all this kind of stuff changed. I mean, when you got there in '99, was there ever a plan for you and Austin to be a big pay-per-view main event? Because it felt like that was a no-brainer.
Well, it would be a no-brainer on paper, but WWE was a completely different environment then. I mean, it was a very aggressive. When I was in WCW, I'd only been there, like my first match was against Hulk Hogan. So I had 3 years experience of pretty much working with guys like Flair and Arn and Sting and Luger and Savage and all these great guys that I was like everybody's kid brother, you know? So they looked out for me and I did this and I just basically did what I was told. When I got to WWE and got in the ring, it was a much different environment. You had to fight and claw. Guys were very protective over their characters. They're very protective over the business. And it was the Attitude Era, and there was the wars and Monday Night Wars, all that was going on. And, you know, let's call, a spade and put the truth where it is. I didn't have the skills to run like that. When I first got there, it was all new to me. I really didn't. I didn't understand how WWE did business. I didn't understand character psychology that well. I mean, I'm still pretty green, 3 years in the business. So I think when I got to WWE, a lot of that was I wasn't ready for that position. I wasn't ready for that spot. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it or make it look good. I wasn't ready for it. And looking back now, I'm not upset about it. I mean, if I knew what I knew now, it would have been a completely different run. That's just time and hindsight, I had to go through those experiences. I had to, get the ass chewings from Undertaker and develop the relationships that I developed with Stone Cold and Triple H and all these guys where we worked hard to make me a better in-ring talent. And it was a tough struggle. It was tough to understand because the things that I did in WCW that worked is not what Vince McMahon wanted. Is not what the WWE mantra was then. I mean, they didn't want at the time the old school kind of stuff. They didn't. They wanted something progressive. They wanted matches that were super competitive. And a guy like Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was the #1 guy in the company, who was, filling his seats like he was filling them, he's not going to bring himself down to bring someone else up. You have to step up to his level to get it. And it took me a couple of years to where I could get up to Steve's level. I mean, one of the biggest turning points of my career was working Stone Cold Steve Austin. When things finally clicked mentally for me was because of Steve Austin. It's just, we had one of our matches overseas and it's one of those things where you really click and know who you are as a talent. And every talent experiences that at different times in their career where they settle in and they know exactly what they're bringing to the table, and outside influence diminishes. Because when I started, there was no one like me. I had all this athleticism. I was good looking for a giant. I could talk. So it was like some was like work like Andre, some wanted to be more athletic. So I had to find my own mold. I mean, I wasn't as good as an athlete as Undertaker. You know what I mean? I wasn't the machine like Kane that moved like Kane did. I was a little bit more loosey-goosey in the way I moved. I wasn't like Andre. So I had to find my own identity, I think, because I couldn't be what other people thought I would be. I had to find my own. And it wasn't until I worked Steve later on in my career where all that clicked and I figured out who the hell I was, which once I figured it out, it's like one of those duh moments where you slap your forehead and go, oh, that would have been easy if I'd have just done that from the beginning. But again, you're trying to find out who you are. And that's one of the things I try to help the younger talent now is to be authentic and find out who they are. Because guys, oh, be a giant. Well, what in the F does that mean? Be a giant. What does that mean? No sell? Then everybody gets pissed off because I'm not selling their stuff. I mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? As you get a little bit of experience and find out your identity and come from a more authentic place, it's a lot easier to understand.
Where I finally do get in the locker room with Roman and we hit it off and all that kind of thing. Whether that would have happened while Vince was in charge or not, I don't know. I just know it didn't happen while Vince was in charge, and then Hunter ended up taking over. And about a month or so later, that's where we ended up. So, whether it's coincidental, whether it's not, whether the trajectory would have been the same or not, I don't think it would have gone exactly the same any way you cut it, because those are two different people with two very different visions.